Hey, hey, hey. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Empower Her Experience Talk Show podcast. So, today I've got a good hot topic for you. We often hear this term that is used by many people. It's been a common term that's been thrown around where people say, I'm protecting my peace. And for some, this is true. But for others, rather than protecting their peace, they're actually building walls. So that's what we're going to talk about today, protecting your peace or building walls. So, what do I mean when I say protecting my peace or building walls? Well, the difference between protecting your peace and building walls, it comes with what your intent is. It lies in your boundaries. It lies in your emotional openness. Protecting your peace involves setting healthy boundaries where you create limits to guard your mental, emotional, and your spiritual well being without completely shutting people out. It also involves intentional self care. This is where you recognize what drains you and then you make better choices that help preserve your energy, your joy, and your clarity. When you're protecting your peace, you have an open mind, an open heart, and a wise mind, actually. An open heart and a wise mind when you are protecting your peace. You remain emotionally available and connected, but discerning about what and who you allow in. And protecting your peace is empowering because it's rooted in self-respect and growth and healing. So you might not answer calls after work hours to help maintain your rest and family time. It's like being a counselor, we're constantly getting calls. We may get calls at 11 o'clock at night. We may get text messages, on the weekend. And setting healthy boundaries is I'm not going to respond to these messages until I'm back into my normal work hours. That is me protecting my peace. Why? Because I've got to have time too. I've got to have time with my family. I've got to have time for myself. Okay. And so that is an example of protecting your peace. Now, building walls, however, that's a whole other topic. Building walls is when you engage in emotional isolation. This is where you shut people out, not just to protect your peace, but to avoid being vulnerable or avoiding discomfort. It's a fear-based reaction. It stems from some type of betrayal. You might have betrayal trauma, stems from some type of pain or some hurt that you've endured from someone, and it leads to avoidance rather than resolution. So you end up with relationships that don't last. Why? Because you've been building walls. You end up with high conflict in relationships. Why? Because you've been building walls. And so building walls, it stunts your growth. It stunts the growth of intimacy. It stunts the growth of connection with people. It stunts the growth of your healing. Because while the walls may prevent the hurt, they stunt your growth from being able to flourish in intimacy, connection, and in healing. And also building walls, it leads to you being very defensive, very, very rigid. And look, some of us, yes, we have reasons. If we wanted to build wall, we got reasons why we should build walls. Because some of the things that have been done to us, is said to us, or that life has thrown, we could all find some reason to be defensive and rigid, but to build walls. But it leads to being defensive and rigid. It often blocks not only the negative, but it'll also block positive experiences. So you'll find that people who build walls, they miss out on some of the best relationships that they can ever have because they're building walls. They're making people who did not cut them, they're bleeding on those people. So you can bleed on people who didn't cut you when you're building walls. An example is after being hurt in a relationship, you stop trusting and allowing anybody to get close to you ever again. You start to find yourself saying things like, oh, nobody's ever going to do this again. And I often say in counseling, If we're going to have that type of attitude that nobody's ever going to hurt me again, then the alternative is never loving again, never caring again, never having any meaningful relationships. Because why? People are going to do things. People are going to say things. Things are going to happen that are going to hurt us. We can't prevent everything from happening to us. But what we can do is we can work through those hurts, and we can set boundaries with people to let them know that they've hurt us. But it takes vulnerability. And if you're building walls, then that is something that is very uncomfortable for you. So in short, protecting your peace is setting boundaries out of love for yourself. Building walls is avoiding connection out of fear of being hurt again. So let's go deeper into this. How do I guard my mental and emotional and spiritual well-being without shutting people out completely? Because some of us don't know where that balance is between me protecting my peace and then me just completely shutting everyone out. Guarding your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being without shutting people out requires a balance. As I just said, a balance of boundaries. It requires self-awareness and healthy communication. Now, that self-awareness is a big thing, because a lot of times we're too busy looking at what was done to us to see that, hey, I'm actually closing people off. I'm actually avoiding. I'm actually isolating. And a lot of times we're not even aware that that is what we're doing. And we're isolating, but we're mad because nobody's coming. We left or removed ourselves from situations, and then we get mad because nobody's chasing us. So we have to take a look at ourselves in these situations. And so here's how you do that. The first thing is you got to know your limits. Pay attention to what your triggers are. Pay attention to your energy levels. Pay attention to your emotional responses. So if you snapping at everybody, that's a clear indication that you need to go and steal away a little bit. Be honest with yourself about what drains you or uplifts you. What we are very, very cautious about identifying the things that drain us. Why? Because we don't want anyone to think that we're a bad person. We don't want anybody to say, "Oh, you're not a child of God." We don't want anyone to judge us because we say, "You know what? I'm not going around those people today because they drain me." And so, but we have to be able to be honest about these things, because when we don't, we find ourselves in situations where we are being very, very fake, or we are feeling like we're putting on a show. But then when we leave that environment, we're absolutely depleted. So if certain conversations or people leave you feeling anxious or depleted, then that's a sign that you need to set some limits. And sometimes it's not shutting people out completely, but it's limiting your exposure to those people. Because some people you can't get away from. Some people, it might even be family members. So some people you can't completely get away from, but you can limit your exposure. Meaning, I'm going to come. I might come for about 30 minutes, but I'm going to come, rather than me not at all. But immediately when I start to feel anxious, or it feels like I'm starting to be drained, okay, now I'm going to say my goodbyes and excuse myself from this situation so that I can preserve my energy and protect my peace. Another way is to set clear, compassionate boundaries. Boundaries are not about rejection. A lot of people don't like to hear that word, but boundaries are not about rejection. They're about protection. They're about protection and clarity. I'm going to set boundaries not because I want to reject you, not because I want to upset you. I'm going to set these boundaries because I want to preserve this relationship. Because if you keep crossing my boundaries, there won't be a relationship. So I'm setting these boundaries as a way of protecting this relationship and protecting my peace. I'm going to be kind, but I'm going to use firm language. No, I have enjoyed my time, but it's time for me to go, and it's not being aggressive. So instead of telling someone, "You too much for me," try saying, "I value our relationship, but I need some space right now so that I can recharge." That is an example of setting healthy boundaries and bringing clarity and protecting your peace. Another thing is communicating with transparency. This is letting people know what's going on with you emotionally, within reason, So don't feel like you just got to tell all your business, but letting people know what's going on with you emotionally within reason so that they don't feel shut out, so that they don't feel like you don't want to be around them because of something, but let people know what's going on with you emotionally. Express your needs without guilt, because sometimes we can say no, but we still spend the whole day feeling guilty when we might as well just went ahead and did it because we've expended a lot of mental and emotional energy anyway. But expressing your needs without guilt or over explaining. And really, that involves reframing how you see it versus instead of saying, I'm not going because I don't want to go. And then you're guilty because oh, they're going to be upset because I didn't show up. Reframe that and saying, I'm going to let everybody know I couldn't make it today. I'm not feeling like, being around a lot of people today. And so I'm going to stay home. Or I'm working on protecting my peace lately. It's nothing personal. I just need time to rest and reflect. So you can express your needs without feeling guilty or over explaining. And, letting yourself know I'm not doing this to hurt anybody. I'm doing this to help me. And that when you reframe it to that point, it helps take away some of the guilt that you might feel. Stay emotionally available, but not overly accessible. Like you can be present and loving without being constantly available to people. Offer support in ways that don't exhaust you. I always use this term in counseling. Helping comes in different forms. So no, I may not jump in my car, drive 2 hours to do whatever it is that you need me to do. But you know what? Maybe I can stay on the phone with you for 30 minutes and talk you through whatever it is that you're going through. Offering support in ways that don't exhaust you, that don't overextend you. Because remember, you can be emotionally available, but you don't have to be overly accessible. Another example is I can't talk right now, but let's catch up later this week when I can be fully present because I have so much going on right now in my life. And so now somebody say, well, okay, well, how do I remain emotionally available while discerning what and who to let in? Okay, so remaining emotionally available while using discernment is about living with an open heart and wise boundaries. It means you're willing to connect, you're willing to feel, and you're willing to support others without losing yourself in the process. This means that you stay grounded in your values. Like you know who you are, you know what matters most. And when you're rooted in who you are and your identity and your purpose, then you can offer love without needing approval or validation from other people. So ask yourself this question: is this person or situation aligned with my values and my peace? If the answer is no, set boundaries. Practice emotional mindfulness. Like this is being present and being aware of your own emotions without reacting impulsively. Like acknowledging feelings like empathy or concern, but pause before absorbing somebody else's pain and somebody else's drama. I often hear people say, I'm an empath. Whatever's going on around me, if someone's down in the dumps, I take that on. Well, how is that working for you? It's absolutely draining. You are not responsible for anyone else's feelings or emotions. You are not, I repeat, not responsible for anyone else's feelings or emotions. You do not have to absorb somebody else's pain, and you don't have to get involved in other people's drama. You can acknowledge their feelings or validate their feelings, but they are not your responsibility. So when you're around people, check your body. See if there's any tension in your body. See if your shoulders are tight. See if your stomach's in knots, or see if you're just absolutely tired or drained. That may signal that you have finally entered that stage of emotional overload, and you need to remove yourself from that situation. And I can't say this enough, but setting and communicating healthy boundaries. Like, you can care deeply and still say, I can't hold this right now. It's a bit much. I got a lot going on. I can't handle this, because boundaries don't close your heart. They protect it. So I care about you and I want to support you in a way that's healthy for both of us. So, because why? I can't do it to the point that it's going to be detrimental to my mental well-being as well. So you can you can care deeply without completely depleting yourself. Boundaries don't close your heart; they protect it. Also, you can discern patterns, not just moments. Discern patterns, not just moments. Don't let one emotional connection override consistent red flags. Oh my gosh, I can't say that enough. Don't let one emotional connection override consistent red flags. Notice how people treat you. Notice how they treat your time. If they're constantly doing things to waste your time, stop ignoring that. Notice how people, how your energy levels are when you're around them. Notice your vulnerability over time with people, and use discernment. Ask yourself, does this relationship bring peace and mutual respect, or confusion and imbalance? And if it does, a conversation needs to be had and boundaries need to be put in place. Does this relationship bring peace and mutual respect, or confusion and imbalance? And as I said, if you notice that it does not bring peace and mutual respect, a conversation needs to be had. Something else that we can do is keep your heart open, but your circle sacred. I'm gonna say that again. Drop some fire in the chat. Keep your heart open, but your circle sacred. Be kind to everybody, but vulnerable only with the trustworthy. Because emotional availability doesn't mean emotional access for all. Oh, drop some more fire in the chat. Emotional availability doesn't mean emotional access for everyone. Everybody does not deserve that type of access to you. Because why? Every listening ear is not a caring heart. Share different levels of yourself based on the depth and safety of the relationships. I often hear people say, oh, I trust really easily. And those are the people who get hurt very easily. Why? Because everybody does not deserve emotional access to you. And then you have people on the opposite end of the spectrum says, I don't trust anybody. You got to be emotionally available to some if you're going to have any meaningful relationships. But share information and share yourself on different levels based on the depth and the safety of the relationship. If you don't feel safe in that relationship, then don't share vulnerable and give them emotional access. Another thing that you can do is pray. And reflect for clarity. Like, ask for wisdom to see people clearly, beyond just emotions, beyond past experiences, beyond the fact that I've known them for 30 years. Because why? Because sometimes it's time to move on from some people. Doesn't mean that you completely just cut them off, but it means I can't walk with you hand in hand. Sometimes emotional openness is guided by spiritual discernment. Oh man, you can't put a price tag on spiritual discernment. Spiritual discernment will let you know if this is a safe space, or it will let you know if this is a connection that needs to be had, or if this is something that you need to let go. And the thing about it is, when we get that spiritual discernment, we have to listen. Because if we don't, then we've left ourselves wide open, being vulnerable, that we are susceptible to more hurt than has to be. Another thing that we can do is give without losing. This is loving, listening, and supporting, but not overextending, not people pleasing, not sacrificing your peace to be available. Because so many times we think that just because someone calls or just because someone is in trouble, that we just got to drop everything and run, even though we are exhausted, even though we can hardly see straight. So say, you've been working on your job all night long, 12-hour shift, and you get off in the morning at 7 o'clock in the morning and you are exhausted, can barely keep your eyes open on the road going home. And someone calls and wants you to take them to the store, but you're already treading on thin ice, getting off work, can't see straight, exhausted, need sleep. Guess what? I love you. I know you need support. Guess what? Let me see if this person can take you, or call this person, or I can't take you right now. Let me get some rest because I just got off and I'm really, really sleepy. And when I get up, I'll take you to the store. So don't overextend trying to people please or sacrificing your peace to be available to other people, because you can be fully present and still protect your inner peace. So in short, you can stay emotionally available by staying rooted in your truth. You don't have to shut people out. You just don't hand out keys to the whole house when somebody should only be visiting the porch. Oh, my goodness. Drop that. You don't have to shut people out. You just don't hand out keys to the whole house when somebody should only be able to visit your porch. Oh my gosh. Put some fire in the chat on that. And another thing that we need to do to protect our peace is practice spiritual and emotional and intentional self-care daily. This is praying and journaling and meditating and resting before we even try to pour into other people. Give from a cup that's full, not a cup that's empty, which is what a lot of us tend to do and don't understand why we're so frustrated and why we're so irritable. And that's because our cup is about empty and we're still trying to pour. Engage in intentional self-care, like purposeful actions that nurture your mental and emotional and spiritual and physical well-being. And this has long-term health and wholeness. Keeping in mind that these things will lead to long-term health and wholeness in your mind. This is rooted in awareness, and it's a choice. Why? Because it's intentional. It's based on what you truly need, not what's just convenient. Oh, I'm going to do it. I got 30 minutes, so I'm going to do this day, and then 2 weeks goes by before you do anything else. No, this is based on what you truly need, because oftentimes, what I say in counseling, the reason why so many people have trouble engaging in self-care is because they see self-care as an option and not a requirement. Self-care is a requirement for being your whole self. It should not be seen as optional. Just like you're going to take care of your physical body. If something's going on in this physical body, you're going to take care of it. You got to take care of your mind too, so that you can be whole in your mind. But focus on restoration and connection and emotional regulation and growth, which often include setting these healthy boundaries, spiritual practices, and emotional healing. This is, as I said, journaling, saying no to protect your peace, journaling to process your emotions, going to therapy, going to support groups, taking a break to reflect and reconnect spiritually. And then we also have what we call self-maintenance. And self-maintenance is routine activities that help you function daily and help you to present yourself well, usually focused on your physical upkeep. And this is like going to the nail shop. This is brushing your teeth. This is taking a shower, going to the gym out of routine, not reflection. Keeping your calendar organized. This lies heavily on focusing on your appearance or just your basic functioning, which keeps you going, but may not truly nourish you. So also engaging in self-maintenance. So self-maintenance helps you function. Intentional self-care helps you flourish. All right. So think of it like this. Self-maintenance is putting the gas in the car, right? That's something we got to do routinely, right? Intentional self-care is making sure that the car is safe by making sure your car is aligned, making sure that it's going in the right direction. All right. So self-maintenance and intentional self-care. Another thing that we need to do is leave room for grace. Don't isolate. Allow people to show up for you too. You show up for everybody else, sis. Let people show up for you. Understand that relationships are about give and take. So let the trusted people in when it's safe to do so. Why? Because you can't just give, and not have relationships or people or connections around you that don't pour. Why? Because that's an imbalance. So we got to leave room for grace if we're going to receive that from other people. And then this is one of my favorites. Check in with yourself often. You know how we pick up the phone and we say, hey sis, how you doing? I'm just checking on you, just thinking about you. Hey bro, just checking on you, just making sure you're good. Guess what? You need to do that with yourself. And not only every now and then, check in with yourself often. Do it daily. Ask, am I avoiding this person because I want to protect my peace, or am I avoiding growth? If it's fear-based, then it's probably a wall. If it's peace-based, it's probably a boundary. Okay? So protecting your peace is absolutely empowering because it shifts control back into your hands. You're not at the mercy of chaos. You're not at the mercy of people pleasing. You are not in emotional burnout. So instead, you're choosing intentionally what you allow in and what you release. So in protecting your peace is empowering because you set the standard for your life. When you protect your peace, you're saying, my well-being matters. You are no longer reacting to life, but you're curating it. You make decisions from clarity, not chaos. Protecting your peace clears your mental and emotional clutter. You gain better clarity. Your creativity begins to flow. This leads to better choices and boundaries and relationships. You stop apologizing for your needs, which most of the time we feel like we have to do. Apologize for why we can't come. Apologize for why we need rest. We get this long laundry list of why we couldn't do this or couldn't do that. But it's empowering to stop shrinking and explaining away your limits. Woo! Oh my goodness. Come on. Somebody needs to put that in there. It's empowering to stop shrinking. Somebody ought to put, I'm going to stop shrinking and explaining. You begin to own your space without the guilt. Oh my goodness. Why? Because no is a complete sentence. Somebody ought to put no in the chat. Put no in the chat. You learn to love yourself actively. Peace isn't passive. It's a choice. Protecting your peace says I'm worth protecting. And so that's self-love. It's not love of self. It's self-love, not just bubble bath, but it's making bold decisions. It's real self-love. You gain freedom from external control when you're able to protect your peace. You stop letting other people dictate your emotions and your energy, and you reclaim your power. You no longer carry things that aren't yours to hold, things that weigh you down that you have no control over. You can't do anything about it except for pray and just be a support and affirm. You also model healthy behavior for other people. Because sometimes we don't realize that, especially like as parents. I can say this personally. I grew up watching my mom do everything. She would go to work, come home, cooking, and she was cleaning and making sure us kids did what we had to do, this, that, and the third. And so I thought that was the way it was supposed to be. And then I thought that she was snapping at me at times because Maybe I was just getting on her nerves, but then when I became, out on my own and I would go and work, I thought I had to do it like my mom. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to come home. I'm going to cook. I'm going to clean. I'm going to make sure all this and that, the other done, this and that, and the other, make sure everybody else is good. But I did that and I found I was very irritable all the time, frustrated. And it was like, oh, this is really not the way that it has to be. I was modeling the behavior that I saw, and then I finally caught it. This is why my mom was irritable with me. It wasn't about me. It was the fact that she was tired. She was tired. How many of y'all can relate to that? You're just tired. Everybody getting on your nerves, and they haven't done anything to you, but you're tired. You are tired. So be mindful of that, because you could be modeling that behavior for your kids and they grow up thinking the same thing. And it's just a cycle. So protecting your peace empowers other people to do the same. And it teaches people around you that peace is not selfish. It's sacred. That self-care is not selfish. It's sacred. That self-maintenance is not selfish. It's sacred. So you model healthy behavior for others. Guess what? That laundry can wait. I'll do that laundry tomorrow. Today, I'm tired. So modeling healthy behavior for other people. Another thing is you create room for what's meant for you. When you stop letting everything in, you make room for the right things to grow. The right purpose, the right connections, healing. You make room for joy. You make room for alignment when you stop letting everything in. We feel obligated to let everything in and stop letting everything in. We make room for the right things to come in. So you create space for what's meant for you. So the bottom line is protecting your peace is not about building walls. It's about building a life that honors your worth. It's about building a life that honors your worth. So I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Are You Protecting Your Peace or Are You Building Your Walls? Thank you so much. You have been a great audience. Thank you for tuning in to the Empower Her Experience. We will see you next Friday at 9 a.m. Have a great weekend and be amazing today. Bye, everybody.